Welcome to the Equinety Podcast, where horse owners just like you share their incredible equinety stories and how equinety is changing their horses' lives. Whether you're searching for something to give your performance horse better focus, faster recovery, and more stamina, or in the extreme case where all hope seems lost, give your horse what it needs to help heal at a cellular level, you'll find it here. So jump in on today's episode to hear how Equinety is helping horses worldwide. Now, welcome your host, John Dowdy.
Hello and welcome to this week's Equinety Podcast, number 137. We're swinging out into Holly, Texas. We've got Colleen Fell on the call this week. Colleen, welcome to the Team Equinety Podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm super stoked to be here.
Well, we're very excited as well. We were running a kind of a campaign called the 30-Day Challenge. We started it back in July, and so that's why you're on the call here. We're going to talk about that and how that 30-day challenge treated you and your horse and everything. But give us a little background on your horse and everything that you're doing these days.
Yeah, she is a 7-year-old AQHA mare. I got her as a weanling out of Missouri. My girlfriend hooked me up with her. Shout out to Lisa Matthews for that one. I love this horse. And then I sold her as a 2-year-old because I went on the road as a travel nurse and didn't feel like she could just sit and wait for me. Sold her to one of my good friends, and then that friend sold her to another friend. And as a 4-year-old, that friend called me and said, "Hey, you want to buy baby girl back?" And I said, "Absolutely." So,
yeah, how could you pass that up?
I couldn't pass it up. She is an amazing mare. And I find that I bought her back and put a finish. My boyfriend put the finish on her for barrel racing. She's been healed on. She's just amazing for a 7-year-old. Like, she is the youngest horse I have ever owned because I've always bought older horses, and because I'm old and I'm afraid to get bucked off. And it's like I jump on a 20-year-old dead rope horse. Now, I'm not saying she doesn't have her moments, but you just kind of get on to her and she's fine. So Tony and I, my boyfriend, were watching the Cowboy Channel because, of course, we did the 100-day rodeo. And
yes.
We're dedicated, that's for sure. And your product came on and I said, "Hey, Tony, that looks pretty cool. I should try that." And he's like, "Well, get on to it, you know."
Yeah.
You know how ropers are. They're
yeah.
So I ordered it and it came and I started giving it to baby girl, and baby girl's just her nickname is. She's a Sunfrost Rowdy Blue Man horse, but she's my baby, so she's baby girl.
There you go.
And so I started feeding her that.
Now, before you jump into that, for those that are tuning in, maybe you didn't catch the 30-day challenge. We did a thing called the Equinety 30-day challenge, and we put this out on the Cowboy Channel. And we would send you 30 days of product, and in return, we wanted you to take pictures on day 1, day 15, and day 30, as well as document the changes that you saw in your horse during those 30 days. So that's what the Equinety 30-day challenge was. So, yeah. So you received your product, and then
I received the product. That's correct. And let me tell you, trying to get the horse in the same position at the same time with the light the same is challenging, but I did.
Yeah, you did a good job.
And so we started the 30-day, took the picture, and started noticing, taking her to the barrel races and whatnot. And I found after about 2 weeks, you know, because we all know any kind of supplement you take, it takes time to get in the system and get built up and whatnot. And about a week to 2 weeks, because that's about between my barrel races, I don't go every weekend, I found she was more focused. And she had more energy. Like, she wanted to turn those barrels. Like, and I was like, "Whoa, Mama ain't ready for all this."
Yeah.
And I would notice how her top line looked so amazing in her hips. Like, this little girl's got a booty on her, and she's just built perfectly. She's short back, which I like, and she used to be not tall, but all of a sudden she's gotten this growth spurt, and she just kind of bloomed up on me and bloomed out. Like, holy Hannah, I got a big girl horse now. But I think the one thing that I found that is amazing with your product is the mental focus and the recovery. Like she was like, I'm cool, Mom. Let's do this again, And that's what I really liked about it, is that she wasn't like all over the place looking at things. She was focused on what I wanted her to do. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And you noticed that within the first couple of weeks?
Within the first couple of weeks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, she still is like focused and wants to go. And I want to slow her down, and she gets mad. She'll start shaking her head when I pull her up, and I'm like, we're going too fast. And I suppose, I'm a 4D rider, and I'm good with that. I'm happy where I'm at.
Yeah, yeah.
She wants to push me into the 2D, and I'm like, whoa, well, I need to become a better rider to do that.
Now, what kind of things did you notice as you started getting more towards the 30 days?
I noticed that, like I said, the focus, her muscle tone, mm-hmm. and her recovery. Like when I would work her, her recovery time was shorter. Like she wasn't tired. Like when I would come home, she'd be tired and be like, okay, I'm going to lay down. I'm going to roll. But she would be like, okay, this is cool. And, winning at the other horses and kicking her feet and just being she's happy. Right. You can tell she's a happy horse.
Yes.
That's the best I can describe. She's happy.
Yeah. Now, before you started the challenge, was there anything specific kind of going on with the horse, or was she perfectly fine?
Well, the one thing my vet and we had her on ulcer medicine, which I still have her on because I'm not going to change something that's working.
Right.
But I found that the Equinety really helps with her also. She's not as cinchy. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm, yes.
Like
oh yeah.
But let's see, we've been in the house a year. So about a year and a half ago-ish, it was spring of 2021, right? We're in 22. She and the Red Mare were together because we hadn't found our home yet in Holly because we had just moved from New Mexico here in 2020, and we were living at friend's house. So we were boarding the horses there, and the Red Mare, my Red Mare and her were together, and the Red Mare is the dominant one. She would push her off her feed. Well, I went out one day and she was dragging her feet. Well, the first thing that goes through my mind was, oh my God, she's got EPM. She's dragging her back in. Well, no, she didn't. And my vet's like, well, we could scope her, but let's try her on this because her hemoglobin is a little low. So she might have some ulcers. So we started her on the ulcer preventative powder that I put on her feed once a day. And she was fine with that. She looked good. She put on weight. She started blooming. But I have to say, with your product, the bloom it's like your roses are roses, but then all of a sudden you add a little fertilizer and you got color. And that's the best way I can describe her. She is pretty and dappled out. And for a buckskin, she got dapple on her. And she's just, of course.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And, for those that are tuning in, and maybe you've been seeing the Equinety product around, and if you haven't tried it, it's a very unique product. It's 100% pure amino acids. There's not any fillers, sugar, starches, and there's no loading dose. And a serving size is 1 little teaspoon. It's 5.2 grams, just a tiny little scoop. And what makes it unique is it doesn't fit into a specific supplement category. In other words, it's not just for the joints or the top line or the recovery or the hoof or growth or muscle or anything like this. What it's actually doing is it's giving the body what it needs to release hormones from the pituitary gland. And when these hormones are released, we're allowing the body to send its own hormones to its own problem areas. And so it's customizing to what the horse needs. And it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. And so through the years, we've had people that have, horses that have stress, anxiety, or a bit spooky. We've seen complete demeanor changes in as little as 2 or 3 days. And I'm often asked, why do I think that is? And, I don't have I'll put my opinion on there. So we don't really know why the horse has stress, anxiety, or is a bit spooky, but maybe there's some aches or pains or something going on internally. And that's why they have the stress and anxiety. Well, if the body can help repair those things and they don't have the little aches and pains, maybe that's why they have a demeanor change in as little as 2 or 3 days. And just as you said, within a week to 2 weeks, you're noticing the recovery, the focus. Those are very, very common things. The softer, shinier coat, the top line and hips and filling out. And, it's really amazing what can happen in 30 days with that tiny little scoop. So,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're right on par with, the other great thing is, there's not any negative side effects whatsoever. And one of the big questions we get often is, should I stop using other things and just use the Equinety product? And our answer to that is we don't want you to change anything and just add this tiny little scoop. And that way you're only changing one element. And because you already have a baseline of what's working or not working with other things. And so this makes it very easy to see the changes, as little as 2 or 3 days, but definitely by the 30-day mark, the vast majority of people are seeing changes. And when it comes to the hoof growth and sole depth and all the things around the hoof, that's going to come more towards the 6-week mark and beyond. But we're blessed to have a product that works in so many ways. And it's one of the reasons why we did this Equinety 30-day challenge, was to try to get more product in the hands of people, because, well, there's a lot of stuff on the market. So we thought this would be a good way to get it out there.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you did, because I'm really happy I tried it, because the results are amazing. And I would recommend this 100% to anybody that has a horse. And, even if you're just trail riding, your horse, that's a 5-hour trail ride is a long trail ride. Your horse needs those amino acids to help recover with muscle and joint issues,
Yes, absolutely. Now, one thing that you mentioned when within the first week or two, and you said baby girl really wanted to take off and had all this energy. And I don't want people to get confused, because it's not making the horse hot at all.
No.
They just feel better. And so you sometimes have a little bit more horse than what you're used to, but that's just because they feel good. So.
And she felt so great that we were at Glen Rose, Texas. I had entered a barrel race. I wanted to go outside my comfort zone, and I went and I spent the night, and I went to this race. We came around first barrel so fast and so hard. It wasn't that she was hot. She just was turning that. She went one way and I went the other. And of course, when I went to correct, I pulled her back through the timer, but it was fine, because I was like, OMG, this horse is turning like, holy Hannah.
Yeah. That is great. Well,
and not that she's hot, because she definitely, if you're afraid of a hot horse or whatnot and being pumped up, no. And this mare walks all 4 feet into the alleyway and goes when I say go. And there's no pumpy, jumpy, turning, spinning, nothing like that. It's calm, it's clean energy. That's the best way I can explain it. It's clean energy.
Yeah, that would be a good description. And it always makes you feel good as a horse owner to know that your horse is feeling good. And, we have a lot of pros that use the product. We've got a massive amount of just everyday trail riders and everything in between. That's the other great thing with the product is you can use it from the breeding stage to the foals, the yearlings, all the way through performance horses and the senior horses. And you'll see benefits all along the way. So,
I can just in the benefits with senior horses. I mean, I'm a senior rider.
Yeah.
Myself,
Yeah, I hear you. So, well, awesome. Well, Colleen, if there's anybody that's tuning in that has listened to the podcast and they are thinking to themselves, well, that sounds pretty good, but maybe they're still on the fence, what recommendation might you give them to, or advice to maybe get them to try the product?
I would say just try it. Trust the process. Trust that this product works. Do the 30-day challenge. If it's still, are you still doing the 30-day challenge?
Oh, I'm sure they could probably. Yes, as a matter of fact, it's still running on there.
I would say do the 30-day challenge and let the product speak for itself. You will be amazed.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that is great. Well, Colleen Fell out of Hawley, Texas, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story here on the Team Equinety Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
All right, you bet. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's all for this episode of the Equinety Podcast. For more information on purchasing Equinety, be sure to visit our website at teamequinety.com, where you'll also find product information as well as more testimonials on how others have seen amazing results by implementing Equinety into their horse's supplement regime. We'll have more stories on how Equinety is helping horses worldwide right here on a future episode of the Equinety Podcast.